Hello and welcome to another Solana tutorial. Today we're gonna talk about debugging Solana programs. Cause I asked you guys on Twitter what videos you wanna see next, and one person said debugging Solana programs. And I was like, what do you mean? And it took me a while to understand that what they meant was what normal programmers understand under debugging, which is setting a breakpoint and then stepping through the lines of code. Me personally, I'm a put print lines into my code kind of debugger. And that works pretty well with Solana because you can just add message logs, log a line, use the message macro to write one line in the logs. And that works quite well for debugging Solana programs. But what if you really want to step through the individual instructions of the program, like program instructions, and see what the variable values are and all that stuff? The debugging as you learn it in school. If you debug a program, that's what you do, right? I just never do that stuff. But it must be possible somehow. I just never did it, but it can't be too hard. So today we're gonna figure out how to debug Solana programs. So let's get started. And so we have something to debug, we'll need a program. And we're gonna go with my personal favorite, Pinocchio. Unexpected config conditional variables. Interesting. It should have the newest version. I don't know why exactly it complains here. Something with a default allocator again. Use the configs from the destination, create another. I'll build it and see if it works. No. This again. There we go. Perfect. And that I'm just gonna ignore. Okay, let's vibe code ourselves a program with a bug. Basically, I wanna test this thing. If it can outsmart me. You're a senior Rust developer. Let's see. No, that's not even result is false. And then you check if false is true. Be a bit more deceptive, please. Even trickier? Yes, please. Looks true, but isn't. Yeah. Okay, getting there. Come on, you can read that. Be more deceptive. Yes, more complex. Deceptive masterpiece. 5 in binary. So we think that the tricky of this, which is 12 in binary, will be true. So what does the tricky do? So 5 or all 1? What kind of values are we working here? 4 byte? I think the issue here is that we're working on 32-bit numbers and we're just using 4 bits. No, wait, it doesn't matter because the others are 0, and with XOR, if the 0 XOR 0 stays 0, right? Yes. Okay, so only if this is 1 and this is 0. So yeah, we should have that number. Toggles all bits, okay. And now if my 12 and the flag, oh, that's smart. So we return the flag, so that's this or this, because the and is stronger than the or, so this should be done first. So we have the and with this and the flag equals this, which should be false, so it should give me a 0. Something and 0 should be 0, or flag should still be the flag, which should return, in my opinion, the flag. So this, and anything that is non-zero, I would expect that it's true. So yes, indeed, when just looking at that code, I would assume that this is printed. Okay, I like it. Let's do it. And you can think about that yourself. You just need to understand binary. I just wanted a more difficult example because the stuff that it came up with in the beginning was just not complicated enough. So, my program be this. And we can use standard, that's fine. I don't really know how a cell works, but hey, that's why we're gonna debug this. I like that. And what we're gonna do is, we're gonna say, okay here, and error, a custom program error. Let's do 0 FF for fail. Fail, yeah, something like that. Oops, and we wanna return that. Okay, there you go. Okay, that's my program. Let's debug this. First, let's build this. We can build this. Oh yeah, instead of print line, we're gonna do message, cause there we go. Let's first test it. Let's execute it once. Should we do local? Yeah, local will be just fine. Oh, I forgot. There you go. Now I should have the deploy. Perfect. That's my program. What? Or actually, this is my program. Oh, it's now deprecated. Use instruction instead. It was only renamed. I thought so. Like the interface instruction, maybe. Yeah, cool. Okay, nice. It's an instruction now. Nice. Good job. Anyway, we basically call it without any data and without any accounts. And we simulate and send transaction. Yeah, why not? Let's go. But then the simulation fails and the log says this was the one that actually runs, not the one that we thought would allow us to send the transaction successfully. So in our testing, like manual testing, we're like, this is unexpected. We have a bug in our program. We have a problem in our program because this is where I expected it to go. But this is where it actually goes. So now I could either add debug messages and run more transactions, or I figure out how to properly debug this program with breakpoints. But then how do I run this with this breakpoint? I have no idea. Let's consult the internet. Facts. There are a number of options and supporting tools for testing and debugging Solana programs. Okay, maybe I should do Solana program tests and not Pinocchio. Pinocchio for sure also has a similar thing. That's what we're currently doing. We're running the Solana test validator, but breakpoints in the program are ignored. So this is like a step further, kind of for more robust testing, but still we can't step through with this. We can use message to write output, but it's good practice to then remove them for production because they do need compute. And one nice thing that you can do when you have debug messages, like this is a debug message, you could hide them behind a feature like feature debug. We did a separate video on this topic. You can find it up there. That's just a nice way to do this, because then you can leave it in the code, but it won't get in the compiled code unless you add the feature, which we would also need to define that here. Features debug, that it doesn't complain here. And then I could cargo build SBF with feature debug. What? Oh, I didn't spell it. With feature debug. And if I then Solana program deploy my target deploy profile and then I run this, then it will add this debug message because I compiled it with this feature. So that's what I would recommend to you. I first seen this when I looked at the P token implementation, the Pinocchio version of the token program. Also a video that you could check out. I make so many videos. It's nice. Okay, anyway, this debug message doesn't really help us. We would need to actually print some values or whatever. But I don't want to do that. I want to manage to set breakpoints. Because we like breakpoint, don't we? As Solana people. Love breakpoint. I do. Would love to go there this year, but I won't. So, runtime testing and debugging in editor. That's what we want, I think. Open the librs. Go to config test section and click run tests. Hold on. There's a template. Okay. Let's see this lib. It has a config test with a test transaction, program test, probably comes from Solana program test, and then uses this processor, banks client, payer, recent block hash, nice. And then we just build the transaction with it, where we can add the accounts and data, sign it, and then we basically on the bank's client process transaction. Okay, but that's Solana program stuff. Let's see if Pinocchio has its own testing stuff. Maybe not. Let's see if that's compatible then. Okay. How I implement my entry point and my process instruction should be up to me, right? And then I can just use Solana program for testing. Let's see if that works. Let's add tests. So I don't have any of that, so I will need to import that. Solana, I'm gonna kill this. Card add Solana program. Ha! And suddenly it's green. Or not red anymore. Stop saying Oh shit, it's red again. Let's get the SDK as well then. And Solana program test while we edit. I don't mind adding dependencies for now. I just want to get the debugging to work. And I'm going to throw it out for production anyway. There won't be production here, because that's just an example. But if you go in production, then you can throw this out again. Okay, are we good now or no? We're not even using the exact program ID of our program. We just use any pub key as our program ID. Then we get a fake payer recent banks client from program test. I gotta wait for my Rust analyzer. Come on. There we go. New program test. I actually never worked with this. It's good that I do for once. Standard assert matches? What do I need the assert matches for? Just for this, right? So we assert that it's okay. Is that in standard as well? Is that the same? Okay, regular assert is okay. You think that's the same? Doesn't matter, I just want to call it, not actual working tests. Oh, and here we have the issue with Pinocchio has a different type of pub key though, because this pub key is now in Solana. Okay, hold on. Let's do specifically the Solana pub key here. There, this one. Different type, yeah. If you work with Pinocchio, it's a different pub key. Here, if we work here with pub keys, that's a different pub key, even though it represents the same thing. Anyway, then the process instruction is again a different type, because here we have the Pinocchio stuff. That's just because this processor here from Solana program converts a Solana program style entry point into a runtime's entry point style for use with program test. Yeah, where does it come from exactly? Solana program test. Should I just not use Pinocchio then? Or should I write myself an interface? Because it's not like I'm actually using this stuff. Let's see how quickly I could do that. I'm not writing an interface, I'm writing an adapter, which works like this. Expect. Damn it, I need to use... No, wait, I don't need to use entry point. That's it. Okay. And this adapter should now call my actual Pinocchio thing. Again, I could just use the pure Solana stuff, but no, I want to use Pinocchio. So basically, here, we're just going to call this with... Can I use the... I'm going to ignore the accounts. And instruction data, I should actually be able to use the same one, because that's just bytes. Oh, yeah. And then I also need to map the result. Oh, is that annoying? And here I need a Solana program error, so Solana SDK. It doesn't matter. Custom. There. Still not happy? Oh, you need a reference here? Okay. Still not happy? Consider boring. There we go. So it's not one-to-one the same thing with the pub key. Yes, I'm mapping that through the accounts. I just say, forget about those. The instruction data I'm mapping through. And then the error I'm also not correctly mapping out. I'm rather ignoring the actual error and giving you a custom error 0x1. So from this, we will then get this back. But it's more about the getting it to work. It's just for testing purposes anyway now. I could do a proper mapping here as well. I'm just too lazy. But the point is, why I need that is because here I'm working with Solana program, the Solana SDK, and up here I'm working with all the Pinocchio stuff. So this is all Pinocchio stuff. This program result is Pinocchio, and this pub key is Pinocchio. That's why I had to build this adapter that just maps it through. But then I should be able to call the adapter here, and that should be fine. And then I should hopefully be able to test this with a breakpoint. So let's actually set the breakpoint here. How do we run this? Back in a test module, click debug. Debug. Oh, here I can run tests and I can debug. Visual Studio will even put it here. I'm sure there is some way how to start that otherwise, but here I can definitely start it. Let's just run without debugging, just to see that it runs and maybe fails my test. Oh, now I need to compile everything. Okay, fine. Makes sense. All of those dependencies that I added. And compiled with warnings. Yeah, I don't need this mutable. Okay, fine. And now failed, which is what I would expect. Do I see the... Custom program error 0x1. Why do I get 0x1? Because when I map it back, I map it to 0x1. Wait, is there a from value t? No. Yeah, whatever, it's fine. But yeah, that's working. I could also say F here. Press any key to close. And if I run it again, then I will get... FF. Perfect. So yeah, nothing unexpected here. We also get the program logs. It was invoked. By the way, that's the program ID. It's the pub key unique. The next one, we see that there's many ones in the beginning. Yeah. But we don't see any stable log. It just tells me the program is invoked and then custom program error. It doesn't even tell me the debug message. Okay, I didn't compile with debug message, but it doesn't tell me it doesn't even show me this. Or do I just not see that? No, I don't see that. Okay, whatever. Let's run it with debug. And if I have the breakpoint here, I need to compile it with this debug message. So let's send the breakpoint here. Let's see which one it takes. And do debug. Oh, that's interesting. Launch options string provided by the project system is invalid. Unable to determine path to debugger. Maybe I don't have a debugger installed. Run and debug. Launch program. Enter program name. For example, so it expects the output of the program. Okay, hold on. Then what if I cargo build this? just this, not build SPF, but build, and then I run create alone. Okay, what if I do cargo test? Then it runs those tests, but I can't run them with debug. Okay, let's see if I can do it with this sample project. That's a sample project with pretty much the same thing, and they told me I should set a breakpoint here and then debug this. Run and debug. Run and nope, same thing. Okay, so this is suggesting that I do this, whatever that is. I'm just gonna do it. C+, Visual Studio debugging, not supported in this environment. And the program would be target debug. Where would my actual no, not the debug. Launch string provided by the project system is invalid. Unable to determine path to debugger. Guess I gotta wipe research this as well. I never did debugging with Visual Studio. Again, I never do regular debugging. I'm more of a print line kind of person. To debug, make sure you have the full Rust tool chain installed. Is up to date. Downloading component LLVM tools. So those I didn't have. Now I have them. And this? I'm just installing stuff that ChatGPT tells me to install. Is that safe? I'm not sure. Cargo binary utils. Just gonna install it. Maybe it helps. Choose LLDB as a debugger. Like this. Okay, so in my launch JSON, let's try this. LLDB. It still tells me it's not recognized. And wait, what did you say for tests? Args test. And the test function name was test transaction. Does that change anything? No. In Rust, right click debug test on a test function. Without properly setting up LLDB or using the wrong debugger type. I have that. Make sure code LLDB is installed. Go to extensions, search for... Okay, so this I don't have installed. We need another extension. Where are my extensions? There. Native debugger powered by LLDB. Perfect. For C++ and Rust. Yes. Give it to me. Totally trust it. ChatGPT tells me to install it, so I trust it. Only 92 votes though, but 8 million downloads, so should be fine. Completed installing extension. Wonderful. With this extension installed, can I now run debug? Yeah, that looks better. Look at that. Wonderful. We came to the breakpoint, so that took a bit longer than expected. But we can now debug. Look at this. Like the proper debug way with breakpoints. So it didn't stop here. I'm not sure if I had a breakpoint here, but that's not in the code anyway. Fun fact, if the code gets optimized away, then you can't use that. But what do we see here? Launch, nothing too interesting in the debug console. But here, whoop, we have the variables. We have the program ID, because that's a unique one, 0001, and then some junk. That's the program ID. Accounts has size 0. Instruction data has size 3. We can have a look at the instruction data, 1, 2, 3, because I put that in somewhere in my testing here. I'm not using it, but it came in. So that instruction data made it all the way into here. That's cool. So I have instruction data, and I have the flag, which has value 10. So this flag, hold on, why does it have value 10? Good that we're debugging this, because I would have expected this to have value 5. Interesting, I might have a bug in my program. Yes, and we even have the call stack. Can step back, watch, there's nothing to watch. What else? Oh, we can even look at registers. Wow, that's very low level. If you wanted to, you could look at registers. But we're just really interested in the variables. And we have those 2 breakpoints. Okay. That kinda maybe already answers my question of why it's going wrong. Because the value is 10. I would have thought that it's 5. But even if it was 10, which is... Yeah, the issue is that it's then higher. Then it's... Because that's 1, 2, 4, 8. No, but 10 should be 8 and 2, so that should be still fine. Oh, maybe that was already called once. Let's kill it and set a breakpoint here. Now we have another breakpoint. We don't need this. This is not any code anyway. And we debug this. Okay, we can't debug run, but we can debug this tests. So here in this line, I step over, so I go 1 more. Then I should get the flag. Yeah, now it has 5. Oh, I see what's happening here. If I define that macro here, for whatever reason, it's already being executed once. Interesting, that makes sense. Okay, so let's keep stepping through it. After this, the value is 10, and then it returns that. Wait. And then we're already here. Hold on. Oh, I was stepping over. Start again. One more time. Debug. We start at the breakpoint. Let's step... Well, if I step into, then I go into this new seal. It's also not what I want. Let's step into. Step into. Then this returns and then it goes here. But when does it go here? Let's add a line here. If I would add another debug message, but I'm gonna actually add it without putting that feature. I would need to compile Pinocchio with standard to have this, I think. That's fine for now. Okay. And then I set a breakpoint here as well. So let's debug this again. Oh, error compiling? Shit, what? Wow, and now if I say cargo build, suddenly it already calls this. Maybe because of my launch. Maybe the launch now also works. Interesting. So, what are my values? If I continue to the next breakpoint, then I have the flag 5. Okay, so we got to here with the flag 5. Now let's step into, no, then we go into the log, then we come out of here, and then we should, now we already get here. This is so weird. Okay, let's just keep stepping, and then we go here. So this is the if. Oh wait, it makes sense though. This is executed before we get to the if, and afterwards it's 10, and then we're already in the else branch. But I still don't understand why we got to the else branch. Here we were still 5. Let's restart. Step over. Flag is 5. Step over. Now we're evaluating this expression. The flag is still 5. Going one further. The flag is now 10. X. Do I know what X is? Should be this, right? But it doesn't really tell me what X is. It does tell me that the flag is 10. So let's step into once more. So then we're here. But what's the return register? The return register of this thing, I think that's this one, the RAX, is 8. And yes, in the registers it's definitely working with 32, or even, how many bits are that? I think 32, maybe 64 even. When we came in here into this macro, I chose a difficult thing to debug, I think. But hey, I didn't want to have it easy, so that's what I get. But am I reading that correctly, that the return is 8? And then if I step further, then the registers are something again. Then I'm already here. I guess I want a temper, like, this is still not easy enough for me to debug. I'm just gonna, for my own sake, check out what this macro return, what that macro returns. So build and debug. Okay, step over, value is 5. Step in here, step here, and now I never get there. I think that maybe that also got optimized away, and I can never look at that, the value of that, because macro return will never be actually used. But now I'm here. Hold on. Oh, I think it's always 1 off. Hold on. I think I need to build this again. It kept getting me the wrong line. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, I never get to see this variable. I'm gonna write it to a flag then. I'm gonna write it to a... Oh wait, that's a boolean. That thing is a boolean, which will obviously result to false. But why? Hold on, why is that a boolean? I'll start with true. Okay, continue. Flag is 5, my temp value is true. Then I get here and my temp value is suddenly false. Why though? Here, the macro return, now it has it, now it didn't optimize it away because it needs that for setting this, is false. But why is that false? I'm still unhappy with the granularity of stepping through here. What even is X? Maybe the double point expression messes with me. My debugger also doesn't tell me what that is. Here it knows. What's X? You can't tell me. My flag, it can tell me. What's X? What if I replace the X with my X, and you think that will change things? My X is 12 when I expected it to be 4 plus 8, which is 12. Fair enough. So that actually goes there. We see this. We just need to do a lot of temporary variables such that we can properly debug it. Because now here, if I hold my mouse on it, it can tell me what the value of this is. Otherwise, it's a bit difficult to debug this macro. But anyway, okay, so we have 12 and 10, which should be 8. Oh, maybe that's is that the issue, that it's this first and then this? Does this bind stronger? Yeah, I read that wrong. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's read it. So this is stronger than this. which makes sense actually, because I read it this first and then and this and then or this. Okay, but no, it's my X and flag is the same as my X or flag, in which case obviously that's not the same, because here the answer is 10, 8, 12 and 10 is 8, and here the answer is 12 or 10, which is still 12, and it doesn't equal 12, so this is false. That makes sense. So this is what it actually is. Left is this, and that right is this. Do I not have the breakpoints here anymore? Does that not exist? Do those lines just not exist anymore? No, I can step into here. So my X is still 12. My X is still 12. Great. I'm dating young. Anyway. Left is 8, as I said, and right is 14. I got that wrong. I thought it was... What did I think it was? Still 12. But it's... Wait. 12 and 10. Why is that 14? No, 12 or 10. Why is that 14? Another... Good that I'm debugging this, because I would have thought it's 12. Because 12 or 10... 10 is 8 plus 2 and 12 is 8 plus 4. Ah, okay, that's why. Yeah, and then it's 8, 4 and 2, which is 14. Okay, my brain just made the mistake of calculating. Doesn't matter. Yeah, it's 14. That's fine. That's correct. And 8 is not equal 14, so that's false, obvious. So with debugging this, we now understand why that return is false. So the macro return is false. And if we return that... I still don't know where it writes that though. Yeah, it's difficult to debug this. Then, because this is false, we get here. And the rest is pretty clear what happens then. This. Panic. Rest in peace. Okay, so the underlying issue that I had was that I thought, before I did all of this, the brackets were not like this, but it's this. And then it's not even a Boolean anymore, right? Yeah. Then it would have, even with the types, I should have figured out that's not this. Okay, let's let him explain. Why is it deceptive? Last example. The macro hides the side effects. The variable name flag suggests a Boolean. Yeah, I didn't fall for that one. Bitwise logic has a symmetry that makes you think the equality might pass. The mutation inside the macro ensures the real value of flag is not what it appears to be at first glance. So it's the side effect that made it not work? Even without the side effect, that shouldn't work. It's great that you put a side effect there, but even without the side effect, even without toggling, this should still be false. Vibe coding, you're not as smart as you think. So my value is still 12. The flag this time is 5, and the macro will still be false. So even without that side effect. Nice try, but the side effect was useless. That side effect is only not useless if my starting value would be this, which is 3 in binary. Actually, no. If it would be no, it needs to be the same. So I do need to toggle. Oh, I have a challenge for you then, such that you can also debug some stuff. This, so that's the same number, 12 in binary, the same as we put down here. If it's the same number, then it should be the same. Then the and should be the same as the or, because it will not change the number. And then it should return true. Let's try. Continue. So now we have my X is 12 and the flag is also 12. So now this should actually be true then. Yes, now it's true and now it's the right thing. Now the right thing comes, and then if we play it through, we also don't panic. Or do we panic? Nope. RIP. Oh, we still fail. Why do we still fail? Let's just run the test. No, the test is now okay because the transaction processing is okay. Test result failed. I don't know why this test result failed. If I just let it run. No, this now it also goes okay. Okay, good. It's all good. We managed to debug and find a solution to our bug. Sure. And now it works. And now we can also cargo build SPF. Oh shit, now it downloads all of that. What? It's not supported anymore. Yeah, because really we don't even... You know what? Let's do a config test. I should move that into test. I move that into test. Look at that. And then it shouldn't build that with test. Why do I have such an old version of Solana now? What happened here? Why am I on 2.1? Wait, 2.1 is somewhat new. Wait, what's my issue now? I was able to do this just a second before. I made a video on how to fix that. How did I fix that? Should just remove those dependencies. Would that help? Yeah, there we go. But that's weird. I thought that was just for test, but whatever. Let's pretend we never wrote those tests. And with our upgraded version, we can redeploy our program, and then we can call the program, and this time it's actually the correct branch. Isn't that nice? Because we fixed it using debugging, which was actually more complicated than I thought, honestly. But it worked. And now I give you something to work on, such that you can keep debugging this, because this works because they are the same, right? This and this is the same. But let's get this toggle back. Let's toggle all the bits such that the result is this, which is and so here I can start out with 0011 and then I toggle and then it should work again, right? Okay. And if you want to, I've rewritten it a bit, but it does pretty much the same thing. But I still have a bug in there. And if you wanted to, you can go debug this, because now you know how that's done. Just gotta have the correct extensions installed, and then you can do such a test and run debug. Wasn't trivial, but it is possible. And let's talk about limitations. Obviously, we're not sending actual transactions here. This is just simulation stuff with this Banks client here. We're just pretending to do actual transactions. So as soon as you work with the clock system or something that's dependent on actual validators, this will not work. But for simple stuff and for like basics and for finding like logic errors, this will do. You can step through with this continue. But also writing debug messages like this is also fine. And personally, that's my preferred way of debugging. I don't need the debug suite and being able to look at the values because I can just print them. I'm just so used to doing that. But the point is, it is possible. And sometimes you really want that because it actually gives you an edge, because you can see all of the values and just click through. For some people, that's more efficient, especially if they're used to debugging like this. But yeah, that's why now you know how it's done. Good. I'll end it here. I'm sure you have enough things to debug yourself. So go forth and find all the bugs. And then I will see you in the next video. Until then, you could also check out those. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. I did edit this with AI. Do you see that? Did that make a difference? Maybe I want to go back to editing manually myself again. Just because we're living in that age, I wanted to give it a try once. Yeah, do let me know if you see a difference in the editing. And yeah, thanks for watching. And thanks for learning Solana development and having the intention to make your programs better by actually debugging it yourself and not pasting the whole code to AI to fix it for you. Anyway, yeah, the world we live in, man. We can debug Solana programs. Score. Good. Bye.